Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with the program. Acting DG, Mr. Vosindima, Chief Director, Mr. Evan Langeveld, and our different guests in their eminence. I felt very, very inadequate in an earlier gathering. But I would rather not talk about that and say, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome to this auspicious gathering. I know I have a weakness of completing the whole program in 5 minutes. And I'm not going to be tempted to do that. Safe to say that it needs to be noted that it was not my decision to be program director, and I was not even consulted. I saw it when the program was distributed to all of you, like I said, maybe these people know something I do not know. And the jury's out, will only get a decision at the end of the program. I'm going to call upon Me Palesakadi, the chairperson of the South African Geographical Names Council, to give us opening remarks. And remember, I made a very dangerous assumption. And the assumption is that all of you can read, which means you have read what my name is and what my position is. So it's not for me to tell you who I am. You must have read it. For those who can't read, my name is Johnny Mutlala. Megadi, come to the stage, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mutlala. Good morning, colleagues and our stakeholders. Acting DG Ndima, thank you for joining us. Good morning to our councillors, fellow councillors from respective provinces and those appointed by Minister, and also to the CEOs of our cousins. I would say that because we are one big family, extended in all forms. We have CEO of State Theatre among us, of Luthuli Museum, of Freedom Park, and also we have chairperson of the National Library, our host. We also have the chairperson of Freedom Park with us. It is indeed a great pleasure to be among all stakeholders who are supporting us as the South African Geographical Names Council in this very important occasion. It is a landmark history making, but within all of that, I consider it our Timbuktu moment. It is indeed a moment that Africa should rejoice. It is indeed a moment that we should all look up to, because we have not had an alignment of heritage together with 4IR. We have not been friendly towards systems that then gives us a secure future in terms of understanding, in terms of claiming those who were here before us and what is it that they have done. In that, I want to also acknowledge that within Council we have Statistics South Africa, which informs our work from numbers and mapping, and also links it to demarcations. So that is a very formidable knowledge aspect. We also continue to have surveys and mapping, which tells us the truths and untruths where we find spaces that we would deem or believe that they were never occupied. But we do have systems of telling that even if it's 100 or 200 years ago, people were part of the footpath, were part of journeying in those particular lands. But we do also have Robben Island. I did not exclude it intentionally. Sometimes when an island, that's the only island, in fact, we have in South Africa that we associate with fully and solely because of its historical background. And it touches on many names, Councillor Mahulu, because what you find is that the histories that are entailed in Robben Island tend to inform us of those who were previously there. There's so many names that are coming, and all of them have one way or another of linking into the island. But we also continue to say that island is part of South Africa. We should be having names of people in those streets there as you journey or as you walk towards the prison landscape and all the necessary points that are inside the island. So there's quite a lot of work and collaboration that we are looking for. Hence, we have invited all our entities to support us. This is a Timbuktu moment for the SAGNC, my fellow councillors, because we are rewriting history. We are engraving history in neutral platforms now. In the skies, this is a platform neutral activity where wherever you will be able to know where a certain place is in South Africa and what was the reason of naming that. But you'll be able to recollect these names such that they assist you in your journey in a particular place. It also helps to put this into context because we are members of UNGEGEN, which is a UN working group on geographical names expect. We do that as chairpersons, as a chairperson, then South Africa leads the geographical section of Dutch and German-speaking countries. So that is the part that I am also chairing at that working group of the UN. And we continue to work. I don't know the resemblance and the attachment to Dutch and German speaking, but because we are not primarily using those languages down south, but they continue to be part of our heritage as well. So the UN Resolution 4 of the first United Nations Conference on the Standardization of Geographical Names has given a sovereign prerogative for each country to standardize its geographical names. And that is to basically decide what the name of each feature in that country should be and how that name should be written. And as we continue to look into the written names and the correction of those names and the meanings around those names, we work very closely with PANSALP as well, the language board. that we have, also a part of our council as prescribed. The SAGNC, we are an advisory body that advises the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture on standardization and transformation of geographical names in South Africa. We continue to do this work, which is unforgiving because each time you resolve on a name, there is a very high possibility of litigation, and it continues to take the nation to court. I'm saying the nation because this is a national agenda. And as we proceed, we continue watching our back because we need to look into process. And whilst looking at process, then we become somehow bureaucratic, but very developmental in approach. And that gives us a grand opportunity to sell hope into our people. That some of the names that continue to be adversary, some of the names that become a provocation for many, that they can be changed and be welcoming names and be reconciliatory names that we can continue using. We also, within our standardization agenda, therefore establish policies and guidelines to inform our processes. All of this, we do it under the jurisdiction of what the Act mandates us to do. Looking at the geographical name features and the written form thereof. We do this in form of recommendation to minister. So it is very unfair in most circumstances to say that a minister will wake up with names whilst there's a process that was undertaken by ordinary South Africans. It is also not our duty as council to pick up names and choose as we wish. It is the duty of South Africans and their right, of course, to look into these matters. We have looked into this in various aspects. We have seen how our publications, how the internet continues to give the names that were changed, the old names. But also we note the progress of our towns, how these names are changed through SANRAL to some extent. We're also looking for consistency at that level. But also we see these names through our weather focus, for instance. I always check whether is there a Gqeberha somewhere, is there a Makanda, and Mbombela also, such that we continue with consistency. We have worked very closely. I think Minister worked very well, and our DG, please do pass our regards and gratefulness to him from the office, my office, in saying that I appreciate the manner in which he's given women the responsibility to do and change things in South Africa. I've seen now that my counterparts at Freedom Park and at the National Library that we can continue doing the hard work. We can continue joining what happened previously. I'm not taking anything away from you, my Deputy Chair, based on the experiences and all the hard work you have done. You were warming the seat for me, but we do not wear the same shoe size. Okay? So I'm going to wear all sorts of shoes to make sure that I do this work. When it's time for high heels, I'm going to be on that. When it's time for gumboots, I go with you and make you wear the gumboots as well in bringing this change. So colleagues, in that saying that we want to welcome you, but also the meaningfulness of this day is that we will be able to work on capabilities of storing, managing, analyzing, reporting, and enabling a spatial view of the geographical names database. This also helps institutions of research. This also makes us focus as the South African citizens in knowing that this is our South Africa. This is the South Africa of the people we know and the people who have lived with and the people who have brought us here. I'm also looking at this with a spatial justice lens. I'm using a heritage lens also to look into this, because we have always been at the mercy of engineers, cartographers, and architects through plans, designs, drawings, map. Our chair of Gauteng is an urban planner. Madam, I'm not taking anything away from the profession, but I'm saying the human heart, the soulfulness of the nation should come such that we are able to identify, we are able to work on our imaginations, we are able to work in our forgiving agenda, and also seek to change in an appropriate manner. With all of that being said, I would like to say welcome to this moment of ours. I call it a Timbuktu moment. The moment that secures the future, the moment that says even heritage can be linked with 4IR. Even heritage still aspires to be relevant for the future. Thank you, feel welcome. Thank you once more for joining us.
Without much ado, let me call upon Mr. Vosindima, the acting DG, to give a keynote address.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, honorable guests, Ms. Palesa Kadi, Chairperson of the South African Geographical Names Council, Ms. Hlengwe Mkabateli, Chairperson of the Freedom Park, Chairperson of the National Library of South Africa, Ms. Refilwe Mabaso. I've also seen a couple of members of councils for the South African Geographical Names Committee. In fact, also there's a chairperson of the Luthuli Museum, Mr. Important Mkhize. And I've seen the CEOs of some of our institutions. I saw the CEO of Freedom Park, Ms. Jane Mufamadi. Saw the CEO of the Luthuli Museum, Mr. Brian Kaba. If you can please just forgive me if by any, the acknowledgements should be done by yourself, Deputy Chairperson, where I might have skipped. So you must just get into those boots that they've been talking about. And let me also, I think I've recognized you as the chair, as a chairperson of this meeting. But also now let me recognize you as the Deputy Chairperson of the South African Geographical Names Committee or Council. The representatives of the heritage sector that are present here, the members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Let me extend my warmest greetings to all of you present in this gathering. And as we journey back to the advent of our democracy and its evolution in the last 28 years, we reflect on how the heritage sector has transformed and evolved. We also reflect on challenges along the way with the aim of revisiting our approach and strategy. As many would say, hindsight is the best science, but life must be lived going forward. The need for transforming the heritage landscape is expressed in the governing party's early 1990s transformative program blueprint, which was titled Ready to Govern. It found expression in various sections of the interim Constitution of 1993 and the 1996 Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. This policy position informed the white paper on arts, culture, and heritage in 1996. It later informed heritage legislation such as the South African Geographical Names Council Act, Act number 118 of 1998, and the National Heritage Resources Act, Act number 25 of 1999. The focus of the policies and legislation was, amongst others, on renaming of major national landscapes or landmarks such as village names, international airports, and cities, amongst others. Declaration of several previously marginalized heritage and liberation sites as national heritage sites, with some elevated to World Heritage sites such as Robben Island. Chairperson, allow me just to stay a bit on the issues of geographical name, where it came about. Because sometimes we forget, as we speak, as we assume public platforms, where this comes from. The idea was just to work in line with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission policy of symbolic reparations. That's a policy document that arises out of the TRC. TRC, which was looking at the gross human rights violations of the majority of people of South Africa during apartheid. And the policy was therefore saying there should be symbolic reparations. And the policy, now I'm talking about the geographical names. It is cognizance of the fact that indigenous communities had names of places before colonialism, before apartheid. It takes cognizance of the fact that Euro and Anglo-imperialism, as well as apartheid, deliberately eroded and obliterated names of indigenous communities. And also that was very deliberate. I think I need to just underscore this point. It was a very deliberate act. It was an act of justifying certain false notions about Africa and about other developing countries, because this is a phenomenon that is not just peculiar to South Africa or to the African continent. Other continents experience the same kind of abuses during the so-called voyages of discovery, where communities of the West would go to places and say they've discovered places. They would go to those areas and say they found empty lands because they were not recognizing indigenous population. They were not respecting indigenous population. Therefore, they imposed their own names on indigenous populations. So I just thought that let me just sit on this a bit so that there is a very clear understanding of the substantive nature of the work that we are dealing with today. It's not just a mere wastage of government resources. It's about reparations. So I just thought that really I would have not done my work if I really do not talk about this thing, the false notion of discovery as well as false notions of empty land. So I want to say that the renaming of geographical features is both a restorative and transformative act, in which, as a post-colonial and post-apartheid society, we are redefining ourselves in line with the new values of our Constitution. So with you can see now that if you look at South Africa currently, the formerly oppressed majority is still a cultural minority, as apartheid colonial symbols and heritage still dominate our landscape. hence periodic protests agitating for more and rapid changes. You can see, you might have seen Roads Must Fall, you know, in which students were beginning to attack some of the colonial and apartheid iconography. As the government, we are not necessarily supporting the destruction of those statues, because our responsibility is to preserve our heritage. But of course, there needs to be discussion in terms of how do you position them in such a way that we are not seen as a government that is celebrating the same colonialism that says, and the same apartheid that says, or which even the United Nations declared as crime against humanity. So those such symbols can never be symbols that determine us. We need to then engage as a society in terms of how we manage that. So let me just step out of the politics of naming and get now to the work that we have come to talk about here. So it's very important to say that some of the name changes have been successfully challenged in courts due to the procedural flaws. A reminder that any action in a revolution and changing society will be countered with reaction. We know the issue of Makado. Because of not following due processes, it could not be changed. Also important to note is that as a constitutional democracy, we have had to embark on an extensive, slow and costly nationwide multi-stakeholder consultation, something that is painstakingly slow but must be followed to avoid court challenges. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his acceptance speech on recommendations from the Presidential Commission on Fourth Industrial Revolution said, I quote, "Digital transformation has to be harnessed to change the way we live, learn, work, and govern," end quote. As part of the department's achievement in driving the transformation agenda, the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture is pleased to announce that it has established a geographical names database and web portal. This system will be commonly referred to as the South African Geographical Name System. The SAGNS has recently been developed as per Section 62B of the South African Geographical Names Council Act, Act number 11 of 1998, with the aim of improving the process of transforming the geographical names landscape. This section requires the department to, I quote, establish and maintain a research section and the necessary infrastructure, incorporating a computerized database, a library, reference material, and a document archive, end quote. The SAGNS is a central geographical names information hub. The new platform will provide members of the public with full access to information and documentation they need to actively participate in the transformation of geographical naming landscape. South Africa needs to be on par with other countries in terms of the standardization of geographical names as per the United Nations Group of Experts on Geographical Names, fondly named as the UNGECN. So we are following the UNGECN guidelines. The question is, how does the South African geographical name system improve the process? That's the question that we need to then look at and answer. This system enables the Provincial Geographical Names Secretariat and national officials to load geographical names applications for standardization of geographical names digitally into the system. Applicants will receive numbers through SMSs. As you know, any South African can approach his or her councillor or traditional leader and can make a proposal for a name change. That does not reflect who we are as people living in that town, city, or village. The municipality, working together with Provincial Geographical Names Council, can organize a public consultation meeting in the area where the name change is being proposed. The public meeting will discuss and agree on the name that many people in the area would like. If many people who attended the consultation meeting agreed to the name change, the South African Geographical Names Council application form will be completed and submitted to the South African Geographical Names Council, together with the attendance registers and minutes of public consultation meetings. This is a democratic process. I think you can see it's not a process where someone just thinking, alone and just wake up the following morning and just attach a name to a particular landscape. But it's an interactive process where there are discussions and people debate and ultimately decisions are taken. Then the PGNC, which is the Provincial Geographical Names Committee, will also need to submit information relating to how the public consultation meeting was advertised. This may include local newspapers and community radio advertisements. The South African Geographical Names Council will review all this information and recommend the name change to the minister to change the place name. And of course, minister will have to apply his mind. If the minister finds that all processes were followed in terms of public consultations before the name change application was submitted, the minister may approve the name change. But sometimes minister also reject the name change, depending on whether he is convinced. I'm saying he because current minister is a man, but it can be a she. We'll just look at whether all processes were followed. If all processes were followed, and then he or she can then approve the name. The Department of Sport, Arts and Culture will thereafter advertise the name change in a government gazette for public information. And I also just want to say, when we do this, and our laws, are very democratic because we gazette. That's a public process. People to see this name has been recommended, it has been approved. But you also have 30 days for members of the public to then say, no, we're not happy with this, and then they launch their appeals. And then, of course, all those processes are handled accordingly. If an appeal arises against the decision of the minister to approve a name change, the minister may refer such an appeal to the SAGNC for their advice, further reflection. The reference number will enable applicants to track and trace the application through the different stages of the above process. The system creates maps of areas that are subject to standardization. So the South African Geographical Name System also generates reports, among other things. So as representatives of various entities within the heritage sector, you are encouraged to start discussions regarding the desirability of the names of your village, town, or city if it reflects the languages, culture, and heritage of the people who live in it. So most of us are coming from different parts of this country. We come from some of the towns that are a reflection of nostalgia, where people, when they were here, they were just remembering Dundee somewhere in Scotland. They were remembering Glencoe somewhere in Scotland. And then they say, no, this is Dundee. Trying to domesticate, the environment so that they are a bit comfortable. But not recognizing that as they gain their comfort, someone here was uncomfortable. Because someone here was feeling kind of disoriented. In your own space, suddenly it has got a new name. Already there is disorientation. You becoming a foreigner in your own space. So those are the things that when we deal with these matters, people must really, really understand the substantive nature of this. And also, if we are true to the idea of reconciliation, to the idea of nation building, there should be a give and take. there's a point in time where we'd say, but of course, these people have been oppressed for a very long time. Can we then just allow them to name their places? Can we allow them to name themselves, to identify themselves? These are the things that we just have to really think about as a South African community, because if we really want to achieve this transformation, nation building and social cohesion, those are the things that we should not miss. So we also want to appeal to government agencies such as SANRAL, that once the name of a town or city has been gazetted and all objections have been addressed by the minister, SANRAL should assist the transformation of our naming landscape by replacing old names with new approved names. Now, a case in point here is the name change of Harris Smith to Ntabazwe. The name change was gazetted in 2015. However, if you drive from Durban to Johannesburg, you will see road signs pointing to Harris Smith and not to Ntabazwe. And that's why we are calling upon government agencies to also be in line with the transformation that is taking place. Once the name has been changed, they should come in and effect the change and make the change a reality so that people begin to internalize this. So if we do not follow up with the proper signage, we are not assisting the transformation project. So through the portal, the department is moving away from physical capturing and submission of the application forms to uploading the application onto an online system. For now, as part of the transition, a hybrid system will be used, which will accommodate both physical and online applications. Change is always good, but it also must be cognizant of the transitional phase so that you don't leave out people who might have not caught up with the new technologies. But at the same time, those who have caught up with new technology should then be able to start implementing such technologies. So the department will ultimately progress to the usage of the online geographical name system only. The public at large, through the relevant structures mentioned, is encouraged to use the SAGNS through its website, which can be accessed on www.sagns.gov.za. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us be the champions of the heritage landscape that we wish to bequeath to our children and grandchildren. I thank you so much.
You know, Antonio Gramsci says the old are dying and the young refuse or are struggling to be born. And he says that's where now this world becomes a world of monsters. In the Bible somewhere, because there was no signage, or the signage was wrong, it said Harris Smith instead of Ntabazwe. This man, on a Friday, I want to emphasize that, decided he was going, I'm not sure which is which, but there's Tarashishi and Nineveh just there. But he got lost because there was no signage. I went to the wrong one. Now, what still surprises me is why, even when he realized he was lost, he was away for 3 days. And there's a nice story to it. He got swallowed by a fish. Now, my little knowledge of the area referred to in the Bible tells me that there's no fish a meter long. Now, which one swallowed this man, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure whether he was married, because it would have explained why there was this thing of disappearing for 3 days from Friday. I'm not saying anything, because in all probabilities I'm on national television. I don't want to be accused for things I'm not. So naming is very, very important. In a small village in Limpopo, where I originally come from, because that's where my parents come from, the people of that village saw a contractor coming in and digging up trenches to lay pipes, bulk water supply pipes. And they went to the municipality and said, you can't just bring people to come and work in our area without advertising the tender and all those things. And the municipal manager went through his records and took out a document that said, here's the tender, it was advertised. Why? The village name is not a registered name. The registered name is Vergelegen. So when the advert went out, it said a tender for bulk supply of water in Vergelegen. So the people of Mamone did not realize that it was in their village. And a Kansvater from somewhere put in a tender and was awarded the tender, and he sent in people to come and dig up trenches. So naming is so important. It's even important if it's proper and appropriate naming. Because I was saying to the chairperson of Limpopo, Councillor Twala, that if you go to Limpopo, you'll find many people telling you that they are from Nebo in Limpopo. They think Nebo is the name of the place where they come from. And Nebo is an abbreviation, Native Employment Bureau Office. That's where bosses from the mines used to go and look for cheap, abundant, raw, and skilled labor. Listen to what? This one. Cheap, abundant, raw, and skilled labor. They'll get young men from that office, Native Employment Bureau Office. The short of it is NEBO. Now, because people were going there to search employment, probably with the assistance of their traditional leaders, because now somewhere they contributed. And then a person will be saying, I'm going to Nebo, 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 Nebo. And the place became Nebo. The place I'm referring to, our village, Mamone. If you go there and ask a person, where do you come from? He'll, in all probabilities, tell you, I'm from Jane Fess. And Jane Fess is the name of a hospital in that area in honor of a Lutheran priest who once lived in an area called Kamashadi. So this thing, DG, of people coming and assuming that our places did not have names and giving them names, it's not only they who are guilty, even us, we are guilty because we wanted to appear a bit better. If Mutariko Petersburg and or Mamutintane, it's such a tongue twister, you decide not the name from Petersburg. You understand what I'm saying? So. And of course, naming and renaming remains a very emotive subject. That's why when we deal with it, we have to be extra careful. That's why in some instances, we get objections. I remember an incident when I was involved in another naming process. For the first time, I received a call from a government of another country. You know, that country knew about me because we changed the street name Queen Wilhelmina to Florence Ribeiro. And the government of Netherlands found my phone number. You know, I felt so important. And they say, what are you doing? Do you want us to rename Nelson Mandela Square? I said, if the reasons for naming that square are similar to the reasons that I think Queen Wilhelmina must go, you are more than welcome. And they never removed the Nelson Mandela, and Queen Wilhelmina is gone. Yeah, well, controversy is my middle name. Let me call upon Ntate Ndijeni, and I'll just, I want him to take us through the project. And then after he has done that, we are going to test it. I nearly said something and I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. But it is about cut and paste. When you cut, first cut properly and paste properly. Because you can cut something from somewhere, and when we paste it, and you paste it wrongly, it might give you undesired meanings. So I'm going to hope that Ndijeni talk. I would cut and paste, because you are going to be found wanting with the exercise that we are going to enter into after you have made your demonstration. Please come forward and.
My name is Ndijeni Toka. I am the project manager on this beautiful website we're going to launch today. DG, thank you, DG, Chairperson of the Council, Deputy Chairperson of the Council, Chief Director, Mr. Ivan Langefeld, Chairpersons of various entities within the heritage sector, members of the South African Geographic Names Council, and all other stakeholders that are present. I'm humbled by your presence today. I'm generally a humble person, but today I'm extra humbled. All right. What I'm going to do, we're going to actually launch or open the site for you, but it will not be proper for us to do that without the DG next to us. We will put in the address. Maybe DG can go next to the gentleman there. I'm going to introduce him as well. Claudio, maybe you can stand up. That's Claudio Duarte from our service provider, Esri South Africa. We have been working closely together, I think, for almost a year now on this project. He's going to assist the DG that side. What he's going to do is going to enter the address of the site, and then we're going to open it. The DG will press the button. It's the big red button. Oh, we're going to have to turn the lights down a bit. Where's the DJ? Where's the dramatic music? All right. I think now the screen is more visible. DJ, are you ready? Done. There. All right. Thank you very much, DG Ndima, for officially opening the website for us. Now, the site has got a lot of features that it offers. And then I'm just going to take you through some of them quickly. I know the deputy chairperson doesn't like it when we say we're going to do things quickly. He says such people are not telling the truth. All right. Now, if you look at the site, it's just a normal site as you look at it. But if you look at the bottom there, maybe we can start there, where there's a 10. That 10, after today, is going to disappear. We put it there for demonstration purposes. This is what will happen when you have applications in progress that would have been loaded. So immediately when you land onto the page, you already see how many applications are in progress that are either at provincial level or at national level. So already you get a statistic of what's happening as part of the work of the council. Right. What we are doing first with the demonstration is we are firstly just demonstrating it in a manner that an ordinary member of the public will receive it. Because what we have done here is create a system that makes it easier for the public to do certain things, but also for the colleagues in one system. That's why we call it sort of a one-stop shop. So the colleagues go to the same site that the public goes, but what they are exposed to are two different things towards the end. So what we're going to do first, just to go through what a member of the public will be seeing. So we are currently at the home page. I think we can maybe go to a more interesting page. That will be the Geo Library. I think if you remember, the DG mentioned a section of the Act and he quoted it that talks about document archiving, computerized database, and so if you look at it there, access to documents, you see there we have got all the documents of the council. Now members of the public can be able to download those documents. So what does that do? It enables the public to have access to information that they will then use to participate in the process. I think we've got, Claudia, let's start with the handbook. One click there, you have the handbook. You can download it, you can go through it, you can use it. Even the application form is there as well. Just one button, then the member of the public has access to the application form. So that makes it easier for people who will not know where to go to get the form. Once they log in, they can get the form. Right. I think we need to do another document. I think that's fine. Yeah. All right. So then we can go to the application tracking tool. This I'll then explain a bit. Do you have a reference number, Claudio? Yes. Yes. So this is where now someone has applied to the council and then they've received a reference number, because what the system does, at the moment the application is loaded onto the system, a reference number will be sent to the applicant directly. That way the applicant then can trace the location of the application through the different stages of the process, whether it's with the provincial committee, whether it's with the national committee, whether it's awaiting gazetting or it's with the minister for him to make up his mind and decide. Then they can be able to do that. Can you enter the, oh. Okay. You see, now if the person has entered the application, the reference number, that is there, that the person will then get to see that this application, which will be reflected in a particular color there, you can see the big yellow dot there, is currently recommended to the SAGNC. That means this application was with the provincial committee. They've now sent it to us by just clicking a button, which is something we're going to show later on. They've recommended to the council. That means the council is deliberating on the application. So the process then allows for that person to do that as well. So the reference number there, if you look at it, it's a very simple number. GNS, Geographical Name System, then it gives the year and the date and the number there at the end, just to make sure that things are not the same, that references are different. Are we happy up to so far? Okay. Well, if you're talking alone, you might think people are not impressed. Okay. And then we'll have the geographic names lookup tool. The lookup tool, what it does basically is where now you can go and search for names that you're interested in as a member of the public. You can go to that tool and then you conduct a basic search. You can do that by just simply typing. Claudio, can you briefly just type Polokwane for us? There you go. Can we go to it? You see that the site is also very responsive, very quickly. It doesn't take too long. So with Polokwane there, it's quite interesting. You've got two points within the city there that you see. One is for the city itself. The other one is for the post office. So when you search a name, you get attribute information or attribute data on the side here. There's a drop-down arrow that you will click, and then it gives you the name. It tells you what the name is. Polokwane, which was formerly Petersburg. It's a town. It's in Limpopo. The district municipality is Capricorn. The local municipality is Polokwane. So already you get a lot of information by just searching that particular name. Okay. I think for the members of the public, that's about where it ends, isn't it? And then for us, as officials from provinces and us at the national office, we have got login details that we need to use. We sign in at the top there. Once you sign in, now you've got access to other tools that are basically internal. So the purpose of this was to make sure that we're trying to make sure, we understand that not everyone has GIS knowledge and skills. So we're trying to make sure that we create a platform that even people without the GIS background can use to do the work that we are doing. And that's why we ended up with this particular type of application. So if you look at that, once you've, as a member in the member directory, you've logged in, you then are having a number of applications in front of you. You've got the names application, you've got the GIS viewer, and the reporting tools. Those are different applications that are available to you as a provincial. I think I've seen people from the Gauteng PGNC here as well. So those, they're there, yes. Those are the tools that you'll have in front of you. You've got the GIS viewer. That one will enable you to make maps and so on and so forth. But in the interest of time, I don't really want to focus on that, on the other tools, unless if we are requested to. But I would like us to focus mostly on the application process, wherein the names are applied. Can you open that for us, Claudio, please? Okay, there you go. So basically what this does is basically similar to the hard copy application form, but in a digital form. Should we do a brief application? Yeah, let's do it. No spelling and other things. We're just doing it for demonstration purposes. So that means that a person, because this our entry point is at the province. Once the province has done the public participation processes and all those things are done. They come here, then depending on whether it's a correction of spelling, it's a name change, it's a registration of an existing name, they will come here and then they will upload the application. Yeah. They'll upload the application, then that's a proposed name, they'll put a name there, and then and go down and so on. Claudia will continue doing that as I'm explaining the process. So while you're doing that, the system itself, if you know where the area is, it will, their coordinates, it will give you a map for the area. Or you can quickly search on the map that's provided there for the particular area. And then what the system also allows you to do when you're uploading the form, it enables you to scan, then upload the hard copy documents, all the supporting documents, the public participation documents, the hard copy application form, the attendance registers. All those documents will then be scanned and be kept and archived into the system. So this is going to be a new way of us working. One application will have all sorts of information in it. Okay. And then as you go to the end there, you see there are different stages in the application process. I think we won't really finish completing the form now in the interest of time. But all the different stages are there. The application will be received by the PGNC. So the PGNC, once they receive the application, they can put it into the system, even if it's not complete, because you can come back to it and make amendments. Once it's completed and everything is there, then they will go to the next process where they'll just click there, then it comes to the National Council. All these areas where there's a click, the applicant gets a notification as to, okay, this is where your application has gone to. I think in brief, unless if they are, oh, we've got that exercise. Yes. I think I'll need your assistance on that one.
I'm going to ask for the CEO of Freedom Park to sponsor a name that will search on the system, see what actually happened to that application. And the CEO of the Freedom Park, James Mufamadi. When at some stage I was chairperson of South African Geographical Names Council before I was demoted, she was the deputy chairperson.
Good morning, my former chairperson and everyone who's here. I'll just one that is popular, Emalahleni.
Emalahleni. Now, while they're still checking, I want to explain something. You would realize that when we write Emalahleni, the E is a small letter E and capital letter M, because it's the orthography, the Zulu orthography that we use. You don't use a capital letter E and become British and say it's at the beginning of a word. Leave that. We are in South Africa. Small letter E, capital letter M. You are getting?
Claudia, can you open the attribute?
Aha. So there it goes. Now, what is very important is that it even gives you the type of the geographic feature. This change is a town. Okay? Now, you know, which is something that we need to deal with at some stage. Local municipality, Emalahlen local municipality. If you go to KZN, you find an area in KZN called Emalahlen, right? But that Emalahlen and this Emalahlen are not one and the same thing. So as part of Ungegen, where we discourage duplication, at some stage we'll have to deal with elimination of one Emalahlen and remain with one Emalahlen. Whether you name a police station, a railway station, because this thing, you don't just only name town, it affects even other features within that town. The next one that I want us to check is, I want Mary Fulo Mabaso, the chairperson of National Library, to give us a name.
Thank you very much. And,
can I maybe be cruel, no? And ask you to stand up so that they must be sure we really mean you and not, we did not create people.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. I'm going to try them. I think this is one of those names that are not that common to most of us, which is the Chief David Stearman International Airport.
Chief David Stearman. Now, as they are still going through this is one gentleman in our history who was incarcerated on Robben Island, and not once but twice. And he was taken at some stage to Australia, where he passed away. The most unfortunate thing about Chief David Stearman is that where he was buried in Australia, there's a railway station built. So you can't even exhume his body because you wouldn't know which part of the railway station to dig up to find his remains. Now, we have got such horror stories with many of our people. I, for instance, have got a thing that will forever trouble me, and that's my great-grandfather, Hoshimampuru II, the one the prison is named after. After he was hanged, we don't know where he was buried. So even today, we don't know where his remains are. And every time we try as a family to try and look for his remains, I don't know whether I believe in witchcraft. I think we are bewitched. Because instead of looking for the remains of the old man, we start by fighting. And it happens every time. So this is David Stearman. This is what used to be Port Elizabeth International Airport. So there's no longer any Port Elizabeth International Airport because you can't have an airport in a port. P-O-T. So it's David Stearman. And this goes to show that when we deal with issues of transformation of the heritage landscape, we are not biased towards any particular inclination. We are as inclusive and people-centered as humanly possible. So we don't want to one day, and I was telling a story that you don't come to me and say, let's change Kuron to Mukaka. Because Kuron is in Afrikaans, Mukaka is in Sesotho, and they both mean crown. So if you do that type of change, it means you've got a problem with Afrikaans as a language. And that's not our job. We don't have a problem with Afrikaans as a language. Afrikaans is one of the recognized official languages. Right. Now, you came here, my documents disappear. It's gone, the document.
Where is it?
I don't know, you tell me.
Oh, I never let you.
Oh, yeah, you see. I don't trust young people. Now, I want to try, and this one I chose because of the name. His name is important because it is important. Ntate Mkhize, chairperson of Luthuli Museum.
This name is not nearby, it's far away. And I've chosen it because of its distance from here. The name is Mokopane.
Mokopane. Mokopane and the village chief, whose name was adulterated at some stage around Amaskral called Makapan. So the people of Makapan start have an indictment on them to even effect change of that name. First, there's no Makapan, it's Mokopan. So. And I always argue with people from Soshanguve. Soshanguve stands for Soto, Shangan, Nguni, Venda. And a person will be moving around town, Egas van Sosha, and he thinks he's clever by saying he's from Sosha. And he doesn't know that he's actually making a spectacle of himself. So Egas van Makapan start. Das ni Makapan, man, es Mokopan. So that is a now. If you look at that, and I'll tell you something very significant about Mokopan. At the very beginning of this process of naming and name changing, Limpopo led the charge. It led the charge because the premier then, Mwakora Matlodi, almost by decree, effected name changing. Almost by decree. And that's almost the same process that was followed by Zimbabwe. Because in Zimbabwe, they dealt with all their name changes in 2 years. I'm not encouraging us to do that, but safe to say that I always find it very interesting in South Africa that, South Africa is a country which has got an oversupply of democracy. We consult to an extent that we consult even people that we have consulted before and have agreed with. We come back and consult them. And that's why even today the name Pretoria hasn't changed. I want this one. No. I want to do something. Because here, one of the exercises is to introduce people. And the names I've given here are the names that have been given. But can I ask me Dinapule, the chairperson of Mpumalanga, to sponsor a name, just to show that we are not only national, we are national and the provinces. Dinapule.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues. And I want to appreciate the fact that you first took me to Mpumalanga, to Emalahleni. So I want us to go somewhere else. Sihlalo wase Eastern Cape, would you allow me to request that we go to Gqeberha?
Yeah. I can see Mr. Chotona is very, this is very, it's very low beat. Like, Kabeja. As we are doing Kabeja there, let me tell you something. When this name change of Kabeja and or whatever, that one. Now, yeah. You know, I struggle with that, but I can write it. So I went home, DG, and wrote it for my daughter and said to her, how do you pronounce that word? You never believe what she said. She said, Q once. You see, if you remove the Q, you remain with the English name once. She says, this is Q once. And now from today, rather than split my tongue, whatever, it's Q once. Because you'd imagine, Kemopedi, in Sepedi, we don't have the alphabet Q, X, Z, C, and V. We don't use them in Sepedi. So you'll understand. I've been socialized as Mopedi without using a Q. I remember at some stage, DG, I'm a first year student at Ngoye. So I come home during school holidays and there's a musical song and then it went like Umangikiya, Ezakwazulu, something like that. And then now they call me to come and translate. And then I found them singing cha-cha-cha. And then it's actually cha-cha-cha. And then I said, no, this is not cha-cha-cha, it's cha-cha-cha. They said, oh, now you don't know Zulu, go home. This is cha-cha-cha. Now, so we are, the significance of this name change is that after going through an extensive public participation process, right up to the end, up to the time when down the name is gazetted, this name was challenged and even challenged by the local municipality, whose predecessor participated in the public consultation process. Now, as a council, we don't deal with petitions. When we do consultation, we do a consultation of home bodies. And we consult stakeholders. And a stakeholder should be a body or a person with an identifiable constituency. Not someone who comes to a meeting representing his jacket and his brother-in-law and telling you he's a stakeholder. So that you can't come to our meeting with the signatures of 2,500 people and say these people are opposed to the name change. Let the 2,000 people come to the meeting and tell us they oppose the name change. I remember a certain process, invitations were required, were sent to people to even write in. Now the problem with writing in is that people can sit in one room and generate more than 10,000 letters. So it's better to have warm bodies. I think now I'm coming to the last one, if not mistaken. I reserved this for the, and because I want to talk about the name. I'm giving the name Maholo. The council member of the Robben Island. First, I want you to confirm you are Maholo. and then and then I'll talk after you have confirmed the name.
I hereby declare that I am
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Program Director. And good morning to everyone present here. I think my voice is quite audible.
Yeah,
But for recording, yes.
Yeah.
The name which I would like to present here is Constitutional Hill.
Constitutional Hill.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, when I was growing up, I had a friend, and his name was Lenkwe Lenkwe. And I asked him, Raymond, why are you Lenkwe Lenkwe? He said to me in Sesotho, if you are named after your father, you are then named with the surname. So Lenkwe Lenkwe means Olenkwe wa Lenkwe, your father is Lenkwe, and you are Lenkwe. So Maholo, it might be many thousands. So I don't trust this story of Lenkwe being named after the father, but we will settle that after this meeting. Now, Constitutional Hill. Here, it's a naming process. We did not rename or change a name. It's a feature which was given a name, and the name is Constitutional Hill. Now, in the process of naming and renaming, there are low-hanging fruit where you don't need a lot of controversy, i.e., there are many names of villages which are not registered. But this village is known as Mamone. Everybody, if I say Mamone, people know where Mamone is. But Mamone is not registered as a name. Mukhaletse, the capital of Bopedi, is not registered as a name. So these are low-hanging fruit, which do not require extensive public participation. So I would imagine that we can somehow make a sweep of such names in the entire landscape of South Africa, just to register those names, because those names are there, they are being used on a daily basis, so they need registration. That's number one. Number two is wrongly spelled names, just to change the spelling. Derogatory names, derogatory and vulgar names. And I said something at the beginning, DG, about naming appropriately. You must be careful which name you use where. Because there are certain names, if you use in a particular area, they are fine. But if you remove that name from that area to another area, that name is a problem. You look very confused. I'll give you an example. NTOTO is fine in the Eastern Cape. But take the same name to Limpopo. Ndatatwala. Wajia NTOTO Bopedi. You are very vulgar. But in Eastern Cape, you are fine. And then some of the words are very problematic, DG. They have to do with Barbarian pronunciation. You know? I won't say that word because I am not sure which is the correct pronunciation. But if you pitch your voice, you are vulgar. no, not if, I'm not sure if you pitch. Either if you pitch or lower it, you are vulgar. One of them is vulgar. The spelling is the same. There's a hill somewhere in the Eastern Cape. Isn't it? Yeah, if you pitch or lower your voice, one is vulgar, the other one is fine. So when you name appropriately. I'm told that in my earlier life I was an artist, a fine artist. So, you know, when you draw as an artist, the portrait that you draw, if you draw it on a dirty canvas, it will never ever be clean. So I'm told the reason why I'm not known as a fine artist is that I always used dirty canvas. Now, having said that, the next item, because that will follow, is going to involve the following people: the acting DG, the chairperson of the SAGNC, and we have put a flavor. We said PGNC. In other words, we are talking about the chairpersons of PGNC that are presently available here. And then I want to put another thing that, and or any other person that might be asked to join the entourage. And these esteemed people are the ones who are going to face questions and answers from members of the media if they are present, and I pray they are not present. And to that extent, ladies and gentlemen, I come to that part of the agenda where I say thank you.
I think we've sent all the relevant information, and I also see a colleague. I'm using your mop again, Councillor Mohlala, a colleague from Iziko Museum, one of our board members over there. Also welcome. Now that the program is over, I think, colleagues, we're going to rely on all of you here to activate this process. We are also going to rely that we use young people to be part of securing the future of their children through this. It is not difficult. I think I was saying that, Councillor Mohlala, I'm not being ageist, but I must confirm that you have taught me a lot of things using your cell phone. So I have gained a lot from you, and therefore I'm having guarantees that even your cohort will be able to proceed in this manner. One would like to thank all members of council for the support they have given us in this process. It's not been an easy journey, but also our service provider, because for us to Esri to understand the systems, the architecture, all your technical genres that you use, all we wanted to see was Gqeberha, Emalahleni, Makhanda, and Limpopo. That's all we wanted to see. But the back end, I believe, that it was hard work, but we worked together in finding that solution. I also want to thank our secretariat because all of these files are going to be channeled through your office, and you are going to be the pipeline manager who must be on real time, because now this will be real time, working with us. Colleagues, we are closing the launch. It's been a beautiful day. It's been a landmark, as said. It is what we call a Timbuktu moment, for the reasons that we all know, that Africa is also looked at for not documenting. And this is one contribution that we thank the department for holding through to the commitment, putting an investment. Remember, these things are not free, and they are not as less expensive. We want to say we are able to see now the track record of transformation, but also the planned transformation that we want to effect.
Good morning. My name is Rofuno Mudau. I work for the City of Tshwane Municipality. I work with Mariki Brown. We do a lot of naming of streets and public places around Pretoria. So I just have one question, because sometimes ago when I was discussing with her, we spoke of Bella Bella. On the boards and everywhere, it's still showing Bella Bella, but on their deed system, the general plan, which we mostly use on a lot of bases, is still showing Wombath. I'm not sure if in this process, after the name has been changed on the system, you will communicate with rural development to ensure that the information is changed on their deeds.
I see there might be interest. Let's take, are there other questions? Although it's improper to proceed after almost closing the session. There's this over there. Okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for asking that question, because I was also going to ask something to that effect. Sorry, my name is Brian Kaba from the Tuli Museum, from KZN. So, and thanks for the opportunity for us to ask questions, because I was also going to ask the same question as to what extent does the role of the council, does it go beyond the naming? I was going to raise this question, especially in light of what we heard this morning, because I traveled a lot in KZN around Harry Smith, and I heard today that the name has been changed. But the thing is that I asked them, if it has been changed a long time ago, so what is the role of the council in that respect? Or do we, as I heard the DG this morning say that he's calling on the agencies to change the name. Is it just, does it end there? Or does the council have a follow-up process? Then after the names have been changed, is there kind of like inspectors that go around and check whether it's been done or not, and then push on that? And if so, or if not, does the council also have a budget to enforce the names that it has changed? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's question number 2. Number 3.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I was like saying, hey, now I've got a call from the big boss, but I don't want to leave before I respond to the questions that have been asked. The first question from Mr. Mdau. When, if you look at the Act, its constitution, it also involves mapping and surveys in land affairs. I mean, it's not the Department of Land Affairs now, it could be a complicated name, but it also transport, post office, if I remember, and other institutions. And there was a reason for that, that they are partners. When the name has been transformed and standardized, they then use their own leverage to ensure that, for instance, cartography, the making of maps, they would then start putting those in the maps. Transport, Sunral, for instance, would then look at the boards, and then just effect the new names that have been changed. Now, there is a question, I think it covers you, Babumda, that we have had this partnership, and those partnerships are built in the Act, because whenever minister appoints council, he also appoints the representative coming from those government departments. Even water affairs, when the names of dams and rivers are being changed, then they are able to follow it up. Now, you have asked Mr. Xaba whether your council has got, the budget to do that. No, the council doesn't have the budget to do anything. Once they have recommended to the minister, their responsibility is done. And our responsibility then, our secretariat, what they do, that which has been agreed upon by the minister, then they send it to government, is it government printers? Government printers for gazetting. Now remember, the name also comes from a particular municipality. That particular municipality now has got the responsibility as well. They ask for the name change. Now, recently we have the name change of Pomeroy to Solomon Linda, right? What that particular municipality should do now, working with all the structures, they need to now effect the change in terms of their letterheads, their signage must change to that. It's not the responsibility of the council. Council's responsibility is to process the applications, they listen to what municipalities out there, people out there are asking for. They say, have you followed due processes? Have you done consultation? They check all those things. Once they are happy with that, they then say, Minister, here is an application. Work has been done. Please approve. Then the minister then does that approval. But then, that's why, maybe let me come to this point where then people say, yeah, department, how much does this thing cost? I can't tell you, because I can tell you the budget that I have for the meetings of the council, for the transport of the council members and the like. But when it comes to now the implementation of that name in the form of signage and all those, that becomes the responsibility of municipalities, districts that have actually asked for that name. And of course, it's the responsibility that transport must then begin to say, look, there has been a name change. The signage that says Ntabazwe rather than Harry Smith, that's what they need to effect. But council doesn't have that money. So thank you. I just thought that let me just address that. My colleagues can come in and ask questions, but I'm not running away. I am now have to take another duty call. Thank you. But maybe if you want to make a follow-up quickly.
Thank you, Dichi. But so what's the stumbling block with Harry Smith then? What's the status with the changing of the names on the ports?
Look, it's one of the things that need to be just followed up with Sandra. To say, but maybe a letter that says, Sandral on such and such, I mean, you can see, it's 2015. 2015, this is what happened, but we see that as we go to Durban, as we go to Johannesburg, there is still Harry Smith, and yet this has been gazetted in Ntabazwe. Can you please change? Maybe that's one weakness of the act, that it's not punitive, or it doesn't have penalties that says, look, once you have within this period of time, you should have effected a change. And I think those are the things that we need to effect as we, and you see our legislation was in good faith. You know, it was in good faith in the sense that it thought that people are going to be just falling in line with whatever transformative processes that is taking place. But now that we are beginning to pick up these things, maybe there needs to be some kind of amendment so that people are able to implement things that have been gazetted and they are official. Thank you. Thank you. May I leave you and love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dichi. Send our regards to Minister.
I will.
Yes, thank you. I saw when I saw enforcement, I saw our former acting judge, Parker. Are you still acting judge? Yes, because we are overusing you at this moment. We need you. And also our chair, Councillor Jodwana, moving and you know, colleagues, I think we are done. I thought you said you want to? Yes, please.
It's okay.
Please.
Good morning. Sorry. My name is Tsiamo Mukhadi. I'm the CEO of the Market Theatre Foundation. So I'm just a sister institution who came through to, you know, check out the launch. So my question is more of a technical user experience question about the website. When you were showing us how to fill out the form, so I wasn't clear if who can submit. Is it Joe Public or very specific people within that? And the reason I'm asking that is that towards the end of the form, you have to upload, you know, supporting documentation. And I'm thinking a suggestion would be actually maybe a checklist of different supporting documents that you have to upload, as opposed to that bracket that said, for example, public participation register, or if it's compulsory, perhaps make it a drop-down thing where you like it automatically reminds you, load this, load that, so that if you're missing anything, you can save and close and come back. So I think it's like a comment and a question for clarification. Thanks.
I wanted to ask also, to add on, start with the techno element, and then we proceed. Yes.
Yes, thank you for the question and the comment. And considering that this platform is a living platform that can always be improved upon as we go, because this for me is more of a first phase. Our entry point is at the provincial level, where the provincial secretariat of the department will then receive the documents and everything from the applicants, and then they take it through the process of public participation and so on. After all that has been done, that's when they will come and upload those documents. It will not be anybody. That's how I said, as I was presenting, that there are certain elements which are exposed to the general public and there are others which are not. So that falls within things which will only be exposed to us at the national office and the provinces. Thank you.
Our education and research and training and Chair, over to you, Councillor Mlaud.
Thank you so much. As he indicated, I think one of the documents that are there is the SOP, the Standard Operating Procedure. So whoever take the initiative to complete the form will be given, and it's informed by the handbook, because the handbook is our guide. So we have developed SOPs. So that's where the checklist that you're talking about is everything, almost everything, those that are mandatory and those that are not. But in the main, the SOP gives guidance. Thanks.
Mr. Klaba, follow up from Lutuli Museum. Yes. Yes.
Again for the opportunity, Chairperson. I just need to ask something then. So when we apply on the website, so I know I heard the speaker speak about the entrance being they talk to the province and all of that. I needed to ask, when we apply, because we would want to make an application to change a road to be named. So when we want to apply to have a road to be named after someone, so we can also apply on the website. So when we've done the application, so the council, will it then, what happens from there, from going forward? Will it then basically assist us in terms of then the changing of the name going forward? Thank you, Chair.
Is there another question, colleague, so that we wrap? Okay. Councillor Jodwana, can you assist us with the response, please? Let every man work for himself and his portfolio.
Thank you very much, Chair. I thought that Ndijeni would take this one in terms of the actual application being loaded onto the system. But I think in terms of there are certain elements that are linked to the application as it relates to renaming a portion of the road. My colleagues have taught me that we call those line features, meaning that we have to have certain coordinates from the beginning and the end of the portion that we want to engage. But my advice for now that the chairperson was saying that we will use a hybrid of both electronic and the old model. If you have that application, my advice is that get the application that we have, but please, if that road is to be proposed or renamed after a person, then a family consent must then accompany that particular application, together with a profile of the person after which the road is proposed to be renamed, so that your application then is complete as you would be guided for other areas. So for now, if you have that, please submit it, and therefore, so that the necessary processes will then have to take place. Then it would then be at a particular level where that would then be entered digitally once it reaches I think the provincial secretariat, which is an administrative arm of the committee. That would be the advice that I'm giving, Chair. Thanks.
Yes, just to give another guarantee, thank you very much. I think, Sir General, please give us, because we have our own notion of place and place naming and place making. Just a bit on the technical, because we don't go without informing the system element, the GIS component and coordinates, to make sure that the coordinates are there. Over to you. I don't have a union voice.
But that just scare everybody in the room. Thank you very much. My name is Stephen Janssen. I represent the National Mapping Agency and in the broader section of Agriculture, Department of Agriculture. I'd just like to make a comment about the naming of roads. It's a bit of a contentious issue because some roads fall under the local municipal structures, in which case you would go under the local municipal naming committees. The SAGNC is primarily involved with the higher order roads, so your R series roads, sections of the N1 for argument's sake. So more national kind of features. And as far as coordinates and positioning goes, we say it again, Google Earth is your friend. This is a very good system. I would advise you to start here. 9 times out of 10, the moment people get introduced to Google Earth, the first thing they do is they're going to see where they live. Then they're going to have a look at where they went to school and where all their friends live. Tell me I'm wrong. But the idea behind towns, from a coordinate point of view, we're looking for the centroid of a town, which is the representative center of a town. With a line feature like a section of a river or a road, we're looking for the beginning of the road, normally an intersection to another intersection. In the case of a river, we would look for the river mouth to the origin of the river, sometimes, most of the time in hills, or where it meets another river or any other, or a dam for argument's sake. Most of these features will be available through this interface. Most of the existing names in the country will be available through this interface. I'm in talks with Ndisheni at the moment to expand some of our information into their system. But yeah, having said that, if anybody does need help, my details are available through the SAGNC. I'm more than willing to give, let's call it personalized assistance to get the spatial component correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. I think Councillor Nravisa, there's one theme I have not touched on, that of the women and the place names, and that we are receiving less of places that are named after women. This is what keeps me awake at night. It's my real preoccupation for this term, especially now that we have a techno service. It is part of the transformation narrative, and one will be looking at that. It doesn't mean that names will be returned, but it is a major concern, and we are keeping our eyes very open, using a gender lens, and seeking, because if it was up to me, I would do it myself. But now I'm presiding over these names. There is that focal point that we need to look at. As I close, also to thank my deputy. I thought he'll be standing here next to me so that we can shake hands like diplomats, you know, and proceed with the new avenue of doing work. Thank you very much once again for taking the program. I am really closing now. The session is closed.